Thymosin Alpha 1 peptide. So Thymosin Alpha 1 peptide and its key mechanisms on the thymus gland. Thymosin Alpha 1 peptide, it's pleiotropic. So this means from one single origin. So from one single origin of Thymosin Alpha 1 docking onto the thymus gland, you technically have unlimited different key mechanisms and unlimited different benefits, and this is the meaning of pleiotropic. So stem cells are also pleiotropic, so our exosomes and peptides are also pleiotropic. Some supplements are also pleiotropic, like phospholipids. A lot of supplements are unilateral, they have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 benefits, but peptides are definitely pleiotropic, and Thymosin Alpha 1 is an excellent example of a pleiotropic peptide. Thymosin Alpha 1, it was discovered in 1977, around that era, by a group of scientists led by Dr. Goldstein. And they actually found Thymosin Alpha 1 in the thymus of a calf, and they found it from a longer peptide chain. And they also discovered a whole bunch of other thymosins. For example, in the same experiment, they discovered thymosin beta 4 as well. And they also discovered other amino acid chains, but they noted that Thymosin Alpha 1 was one of the key amino acids that invigorated immune response. And if you can see my hand, this is a remnant of my boxing. I went boxing on Thursday, and I went boxing for 2 hours. Just as a side note, I went boxing for 2 hours, and even though I wore gloves, I didn't realize I had like a boxing high, whatever you'd like to call that. Even though I wore gloves, I still have a little cut. So, and now I know I'm gonna wrap up my hands next time I go boxing. So, you know, like I said, Thymosin Alpha 1 is pleiotropic, so I cannot go through every single mechanism. If you want to check out the mechanisms, I'm gonna link a bunch of papers below in the description. I have a bunch of favorite papers on Thymosin Alpha 1. And also on my social media, on my Twitter, on my, well, X I should call it, sorry, Elon, on my X and on my Instagram and on my website as well, I have a bunch of articles or reviews or content on Thymosin Alpha 1. So you can also check that out too. You can follow me as well to always learn more about Thymosin Alpha 1. But in summary, what I'm saying is that I'm just going to talk about 3 key mechanisms, and actually I'm gonna make room because I do every Friday I go to Zoe Me and I do a drawing on the board. So I like to express myself, I put on some music and I draw about science, and anyone who follows me on social media knows that every Friday I'm posting my drawing on the board at Zoe Me. So I'm gonna put that here, and this is my current drawing on the board, and this is basically what I'm talking about in this video, which is the 3 key mechanisms of the thymic gland and Thymosin Alpha 1. So you can see that here. I'm gonna put it somewhere here. And also I wrote more about this exact board on my X as well, so I made a thread on this board. So you can also see the original picture of the board on my X as well. Okay, so, oh, and I also made an Instagram post as well explaining the board. So I made an Instagram post with a bunch of infographics as well. So you can check that out too. So mechanism number uno, mechanism number 1. So mechanism number 1 is the docking of Thymosin Alpha 1 to the thymus actually invokes naive T cells, so undifferentiated naive T cells, to become differentiated into CD4+ and CD8+ immune cells And these cells are so important for the immune system, okay? So, like I said, I have infographics to help you learn about this. I'll put the infographic here actually. Yeah, so this is the key mechanism. So you can see Thymosin Alpha 1, the moment that you inject exogenous Thymosin Alpha 1, it's going to dock with the thymus gland. That docking is going to invoke cascades of signaling within the cells, and this cascade of signaling leads to number one key mechanism, the first key mechanism, not number one in terms of priority, there's multiple, just number one in terms of the order I'm listing them in. Key mechanism of naive T cells becoming differentiated into CD4 plus and CD8 plus immune cells. And these CD4 plus and CD8 immune cells are able to actually invoke action of the immune system. Action. So naive T cells don't really do much. They're waiting to be differentiated. They're waiting to evolve, and they do this via signaling. And, you know, Thymosin Alpha 1, that's what it does. It goes in and signals. So it goes in and signals, and it actually causes this differentiation. Okay, now number two, so mechanism number two, which I'm going to discuss, it's actually all about longevity and regeneration. So everyone speaks about, you know, longevity, regeneration, and, you know, it's really trendy right now. Actually, the true hub and the true seat of longevity and regeneration is the thymus gland. So it's all about the thymus gland. This is the true hub, the true seat of longevity and regeneration, because actually, even in healthy individuals, the thymic gland begins to undergo involution, so aging, from around 3 years old. Three years old. So when you're a little toddler, you're running around, your thymus is actually undergoing involution. Yeah, so actually it's the thymus gland. It's one of the first glands and organs and systems to become aged and undergo involution. So Thymosin Alpha 1, I'm gonna frame it first in someone who's immunocompromised. So someone who is immunocompromised, immunodepressed, you know, they have a biotoxin illness, they have a mycotoxin illness, they have any form of Lyme disease, any form of immunocompromisation, they actually undergo thymic involution quicker than the average person. So their thymus gland becomes very aged quicker than the average individual. And I'm also going to put the infographic here. So actually, if you are immunodepressed, you are immunocompromised, you will actually undergo thymic involution 10 times faster on average than a healthy individual, because you're so suppressed by the toxins and by the mycotoxins and by the pathogens in the body. So actually you tend to have the thymus of a 70-year-old, so someone who's 70. And this is bad news. So Thymosin Alpha 1, it actually goes in, and the Thymosin Alpha 1 goes in and it reverses immunosuppressant. So it reverses immunocompromisation, it reverses immunodepression, it reverses immunosenescence, immunodepression, immunocompromisation, whatever you'd like to call it. And it's so powerful that it actually does this in cancer patients. So people who have cancer are very immunodepressed. It reverses thymic involution in cancer patients. It reverses thymic involution in mice who've had their thymic, you know, kind of, in mice who've undergone an experiment and they've had their thymic gland actually forcibly involuted, I should say, forcibly involuted. And also when you inject Thymosin Alpha 1 into mice who don't have a thymus gland, their immune system can almost act in the same way. That's how important and how essential Thymosin Alpha 1 is. And actually, I didn't make this point, but We're born with thymosin alpha 1, so we're born with it. And actually, as you undergo thymic involution, you stop the endogenous, which means natural production of thymosin alpha 1, and you become ill. Okay, so in a healthy individual who's just, living their life, they're optimized, they're a biohacker, they're getting on with it. Their thymus is also undergoing involution, and actually thymosin alpha 1 can help their regeneration, can help their longevity, because thymosin alpha 1 is going to reverse thymic involution in even a healthy population. So it's a very potent thymosin peptide. As I said, it reverses thymic involution in cancer patients. In mice with no thymus, they can still have a functioning immune system with thymosin alpha 1. And in mice who've had their thymus forcibly provoked into involution, thymosin alpha 1 corrects this. So you can see this, and all of this is fully referenced in all of the studies, and I'm going to put in the caption. And also I'm going to, put some infographics here and there throughout. Okay, so mechanism number 3. So this is all about T cell differentiation again, but here we're talking about T helper cells. So just like CD4 plus and CD8 cells, thymosin alpha 1 is going to go in and it's going to help T helper cells actually differentiate and become immune surveillors. And this is really important for the innate immunity and also the adaptive immunity. And this doesn't tend to happen without thymosin alpha 1. So in people who are chronically sick, they have very little endogenous thymosin alpha 1 production because, of course, it's made by the thymus, it's all regulated by the thymus. Its endogenous production is happening in the thymus. So if you go in and you supplement, and I just like to call it supplementing, you're supplementing with a peptide, exogenous form of thymosin alpha 1. You go in and you supplement with that, you're going to invoke so many mechanisms, and especially the 3 mechanisms that I've discussed. These 3 mechanisms, they're the mechanisms that I remember from reading the papers, so I thought I'd share them with you. There's a whole bunch of other mechanisms too. For example, thymosin alpha 1 raises glutathione production, endogenous glutathione production. It also helps stem cell potentness as well, so it's very important for stem cells. There's a whole bunch of mechanisms. It works, like I said, pleiotropic. It's very omnipotent. People always characterize stem cells as omnipotent and pluripotent, but peptides are also extremely pluripotent, pleiotropic, omnipotent. They're excellent. Oh, and one last little mention. So thymosin alpha 1 is actually, being made under the drug name Zadaxin, and it's owned by Cyclone Pharmaceuticals, which is a multi-$100 million pharmaceutical company, and it has more than 70 clinical trials as well, in children, in babies, all the way to adults and elderly individuals. So it's got a very, very high safety record, and it's typically very safe as well for anyone. Help you understand a little bit more about thymosin alpha 1, because it's a really good peptide to begin with as a beginner of peptide therapy. So if you do want to use thymosin alpha 1, you can either purchase thymosin alpha 1 from my trusted vendors, or you can just get in touch with me. I'm more than happy to talk to you about using thymosin alpha 1. I typically use thymosin alpha 1 for around 3 months in individuals. And we see pretty good changes, some very, very good changes. It's a very, very potent peptide. I'm always very happy to use these peptides in people. It makes a big change, very big change. So you can find all of that about how to work with me, about how to purchase thymosin alpha 1, more about my work, more studies on thymosin alpha 1, more content on thymosin alpha 1 below in the caption. So thank you so much for watching, and before you go, I just want to talk about my hat. So it's a bear, maybe you can see. Can you see? Yeah, okay. So I'm going through a phase right now where I'm basically everything that I wanted to wear when I was maybe a teenager, when I was like 13, 14, 15, 16, everything I wanted to wear and I didn't wear because, you know, I maybe didn't have the confidence, I'm wearing now. And I always wanted to wear these like really plushy, like animal cute hats. So I really love this hat. I bought it, I think around a week or so ago from Mamuso or Mumzo in Dubai Marina, JBI. I walk around here a lot. I just pop into the shops and I saw it and it's like so beautiful. So yeah, this is my bear hat. I mostly wear it inside my apartment. I have worn it outside, but it's just something cute that I like to wear. So thank you so much for watching. Again, just to remind you, you can find everything in the description below, and I will talk to you very soon.